Pete Lom with the Forest Service Washington Office Fire and Aviation Management in Washington, D.C. I am the Air Resource Specialist for the Fire Branch and also the head of the Wildland Fire Air Quality Response Program. Here today to talk to you about the opportunity of working with the Wildland Fire Air Quality Response Program, which addresses predominantly smoke impacts from wildfire. We utilize a number of different tools that make up the response program, from the ability to model smoke, deploy monitors and interpret monitoring data, and then create communication messages mostly aimed at the public about smoke impacts that we try to forecast for several days in advance around a wildfire. They use a lot of different tools, such as air resource advisors. These are the trained technical specialists. One orders them through the National Wildfire Coordinating Group and the Resource Ordering Status System as THSP. And these folks are deployed to incident management teams or to a forest to help address smoke impacts from wildfires. These folks are trained in the interpretation of monitoring data, what it means in terms of the different levels of particulate matter that could be present downwind of a large wildfire. They forecast using smoke modeling tools, and then they put out what's known as a smoke outlook, where this information is put out in a way that can be digested easily with the public and utilizes basically a national framework of identifiable colors and terms that were developed by EPA in their AirNow and Air Quality Index systems. Why are smoke impacts from wildfires significant? About 1 in 3 households has a respiratory issue. So with that potential adversely affected population, it becomes pretty important to look at this smoke issue. The modeling, monitoring, and communication tools that we've created, these smoke outlooks for instance, are opportunities to improve how we communicate with the public who, if they are given some advance warning about smoke impacts, might be able to change their behavior or the timing of their activities to minimize their exposure to that smoke. These air resource advisors are used to doing meetings with the public in community meetings, working with the incident management teams in the various positions they're in, and coming up with the best forecast of those smoke impacts. Many of our air resource advisors have put out smoke warnings when there's impacts to roads, roadway safety, so that there can be signage or maybe even other road closures potentially. When we go out to an incident as an air resource advisor, the opportunity is to work with the agency administrator, the incident management team, the fire management officer on the local district or the forest, and try to craft the understanding of what the emissions might be, where the smoke might go, and then understand the vulnerability in the communities that could be impacted and need to be addressed. When we deploy an air resource advisor to an incident, frequently that person is coordinating not only with the public and the agency administrator, but also with professionals that address smoke on a broad scale across that particular state. Partners such as the Air Regulatory Agency, sometimes state forestry, play a role in smoke management for prescribed fires, and they're very actively engaged when there's smoke from wildfires that are impacting the public as well. In the state of Arizona, for example, Ron Sharon plays that role for the U.S. Forest Service in his smoke coordination position.
My name is Ron Sharon. I work with the United States Forest Service as a smoke coordinator for the state of Arizona. My duties involve being a liaison between the federal and state land managers and the Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. One of my duties is to identify when an air resource advisor could be of value to the agency administrator, the incident, and to our cooperators. I think it's important for our agency administrators to recognize that our smoke doesn't have boundaries. Just this past season on the Boundary Fire, we recognized a strong or heavy impact of smoke heading onto the Navajo Reservation. Working with the air resource advisors for the first time, air quality outlooks were translated into the Navajo language for those communities.
We are able to create a new dialogue with the public about smoke. Those same lessons, that same information has value later in the year when there's prescribed fires locally. And so the public will understand that as an agency administrator, as an agency, we're thinking about smoke. Air resource advisors are trained to coordinate with those resources that are available within the agency, but also directly with air quality regulators and health departments to make sure that the messages are on point and valuable to the public. We also attempt to coordinate very closely with the National Weather Service and NOAA. EPA is another cooperator we work with very closely as air resource advisors. When we go to an area, we frequently tie in with the local regional EPA office to make sure that they know we are out there putting out messages about the smoke. There's no better way to describe what an air resource advisor can do than to talk to the local agency administrator.
Hi, I'm Heather Provencio. I'm the Kaibab Forest Supervisor. In the summer of 2017, the Boundary Fire broke. We quickly figured out through our wildland fire support system that the fire was going to take weeks, anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks. We would be putting smoke in the air. Lots of communities in the area, so we knew that smoke would be a major concern for folks. Additionally, it was the height of tourist season, and we were concerned that we may need to shut down the highway at times. So right away we knew it would be important to bring in an air resource advisor to help us tell that story, to help us manage those expectations. So the air resource advisor came in, and he was a super personable guy and was able to tell the story in a way that the public could understand. He would come with us to every public meeting. We were able to get great sound bites from him as we put out those public messages, and he had some wonderful tools that help the public understand. One of those tools was a table, and it had recommendations for what to do if you were going to have heavy smoke impacts. We were also able to take the opportunity to let folks know how we were shifting tactics on the fire so that we could minimize those smoke impacts. Along with that, we told the story that managing this fire under our terms was an opportunity to reduce the amount of smoke that the public would inevitably have to deal with should this turn into one of those uncharacteristically large and intense fires that we've seen across the landscape.
Overall, the Wildland Fire Air Quality Response Program gives agency administrators, incident management teams, fire management officers, the agency as a whole, an opportunity to create new dialogue with communities, with cooperators, and with partners.